Hello, welcome to Greenwood Bonsai Studio today. Been really busy the last few weeks here at the nursery in Nottingham. Few little shows that I've been to, teaching and travelling. It's Monday morning. We've just did a demonstration this morning, and now in the afternoon I've got to do some work on some azaleas. Tomorrow I'm flying to America to go to the Three Mountain Bonsai School with Sean Smith in Marysville, Pennsylvania, to do some demonstrations and workshops, and then on up to New York to do demonstration and workshops there. We've just got a little bit of time this afternoon to work on some Satsuki azaleas, and it got me thinking, because we had a delivery of these large Japanese Satsuki azaleas in last week, and they're just coming to the end of flowering. We've had them in here all weekend trying to prolong the flowers, so they're just starting to go over. We're going to photograph them later on, but we've got one I've been meaning to work on. Now, these large specimens are going to be out for sale, and we've got these little ones as well that always prove quite popular. And we've done a few videos on Satsuki azaleas in the past, so if there's something you're interested in, have a look back at those videos and you'll see some information in there that we've already done. But we're going to do a little bit more for you. I'm halfway through working on this black pine that arrived out a couple of weeks ago out of quarantine from Japan. Just cut these candles and long needles back, done this lower area here. Just got to finish off and do the top of this if I get a chance to do it before I go. But one of the things I've been meaning to do before I travel is to do this Japanese Satsuki azalea over here. Now, this is one that I bought from Japan as a field-grown Satsuki last year, and the pruning of the Satsuki azaleas in the UK, we tend to cut them back. If you're going to do a sort of hard pruning, ordinarily you do that in early spring, like end of March or something like that. But in the UK, often we can trim them that early on in the year like that. And if we have a dull spring and some not very good weather, they can take time to sort of leaf back out, and they can struggle a little bit. The second window of opportunity to cut them really hard back is just after flowering. So that's what we tend to do here in the UK. Anyway, this one, last year I sort of ran out of time. I didn't manage to do it. It's getting quite long. There's some big woody sections need to come back, and it's just too bushy. When we're looking at this tree, quite a heavy trunk. You can't even see the heavy trunk. It's quite good refinement and branch work. You can't even see the branch work. So there's no refinement to this tree as it stands. So we need to bring the refinement back to it. We need more compact, dense, vigorous vegetative growth. Okay then, so let's start. I'll do it from, try and film it sort of over my shoulder if you like, so you can sort of see what I'm doing. Because otherwise I'll stand around that side, you can't really see what I'm doing at all. So we're doing this a little bit early. Normally you'd let these flowers finish, but I think we're not going to get to it, and I don't want to forget it again this year. And we want to get it out of this training pot into some sort of better pot as well. It's overdue. So let's have a look and see. Now, when I bought this tree, it had considerably less foliage on it, and you could see the sort of structure. And azaleas like this, you can cut them back to sort of bare growth. And here in the UK, it's helped if once you do that, if you can put them in a greenhouse and get some warmth to them. So at the moment, I'm just trimming back ugly little branches and bits I don't want, and long internodes and growth. Initially, just try to get in there. This sort of water shoot that it's just thrown out, or this sort of strong stuff with no taper, that can be cut hard back, so we don't need that. But you can see inside, because it hasn't been trimmed back last year, you see all these little bits in here where it's just died off, these little bits of twigs, so they all want to come back anyway. So another big water shoot here, these stocky little ones that aren't any good. So I'm literally just going to keep sort of hacking away a little bit, if you like, until we can get in there and see what growth we've got. And then I've got no issue on this with taking it back so there's hardly any foliage on the tree. And then while I'm away, it's going to be repotted later today. It's going to go into the unheated but quite what should be quite a warm greenhouse at this time of year, so that it will put some growth out. So let me trim this hard back and let's get in there and see. Once I get this section done, you'll be able to see a bit clearer what I can see. So good pair. These Greenwood scissors are really good for doing this. Those of you that use them know what a strong scissor they are. So for this sort of work, they're invaluable. So let's get in there. Thick stuff like this is coming off. Right, in here. Dead twigs, dead shoots. And this is a tree. I know this looks quite drastic. We wanted to do it, and then we want to follow it up in a, in a month or so you can see that we sort of stand behind what we do here, and that we've done this work and that it's worked out well. We've got a few follow-up videos to do in the next few weeks. We did a video end of last year on a Yamadori pyracantha that was quite a drastically pruned tree, and that's doing ever so well, putting lots of new growth out. So we need to revisit that as a video, which we will be doing. This section here is quite thick, so take that off into there, look, with a concave pruner. You can start to see some of this growth in here that we don't need. There's some growth here in my hand, look. That's all just coming from down. That's all sprouting out the trunk. So let's get all that removed. Get this growth cut back like this. You can start to see, remember this had a heavy trunk when I bought it, but this has all been covered up with sort of weeds and undergrowth. Can't even get those scissors in there, look, like that. Around the back of the tree now. The other side was always the intended front of this tree, the better view of it. So at the back here, let's just cut through. And on a tree like this, when I trim it back, I'd rather really cut all the leaves off, because it seems a bit more drastic, but then it will start to leaf back out all over. If you leave a few on, you know, sometimes the tree thinks, oh, I've not got many leaves, someone's cut most of my leaves off. But also it can think, well, I've got a few of them, I might just try to sort of struggle on and muddle my way through with the ones that I've got left. And that sometimes isn't the best thing for the tree. It's better to make it have a new start altogether and get better growth on it. So although it's almost like being cruel to be kind and trim it harder back than you potentially think. See here, there's all sorts of growth. I'm just trying to cut my way into it at the back here, just see. So some of these stubs on this trunk we need to take back with a concave pruner just to get a cleaner cut into them. That shoot there coming up off the trunk we don't need. That's it, you got that, Josh. And another one in here. Yes, this was a tree that we got destined to do this work in spring, but we had quite a changeable spring here in the UK. So what had happened is it was a bit dull and grey and it was quite wet, and if we'd done this work, I don't think it would have necessarily responded very well to it. So I'm hoping doing it at this time of year it'll respond a lot better. So just a stiff garden brush, look, try to get some of that leaf litter out of there for now to tidy up this trunk. Some of these little bits. just want taking back. You can start to see quite impressive, heavy trunk, impressive base to this tree. You can get in there a little bit more when it's repotted, but you can see here at the back of the tree, the base across here is probably about a 10-inch across. Let's have a look, work away up the tree. So we're cutting this back hard to get a sort of skeleton branch arrangement, to get more refinement, definition into this tree. Get rid of the sort of the shrubby branches, because they do get woody with age, so we need the younger, more vigorous branches that we can shape and style. Here there's a stub there on the inside of that branch. It's only a short one, look, but not very attractive, so that can come off. And then we've got more sections in here to reduce. There we go. Don't be afraid to get in there. Give it a good cut back. I've got a big azalea of mine, and about every 5 or 6 years it has quite a radical haircut like this, and it's all for the best. Shorten this back into here. That's quite heavy. This shoot here is growing strongly upward. Get rid of that with a concave pruner. Get in there and deal with the rest of these shoots. This one growing down, and another bunch of them here coming out of the trunk. These have just come out last year. While it's been out on the bench, we've been feeding it up. It's been growing well, a little bit too well. Here we go. A little bit out of here. This is growing strongly upward off that lowest branch. And then as we come round, starting to work our way back round to the front of the tree again. So we're nearly gone a full 360 here. And let's shorten this branch back, this one into here, this one, that one on the inside of there we don't need. This one's growing up off the roots. And then we've got a few that are up and through here, want doing, like this. Let's see if we can just tidy up this section all through here. And again, this lower section on the trunk. Let's get a little brush, see if we can't just tidy that up a little bit. Quite a soft bark on the azaleas, so if you're using a brass brush or a metal brush, then use a brass one, but be careful with it, because you can take too much off. So, or use a nylon brush. So just be careful you're not going to scrub the bark off too much. Sometimes a nylon one like this is more gentle, works better, just to get this nonsense off, little bits of leaves and roots and twigs. And the moss in here. So another method, this is going to be repotted. So to get in here and tidy up this up even better is probably to just get the hose pipe on it at that stage when it's being done. Works quite well also. There's a bit of wound sealant on here where branches have been cut off and it's been sealed, so that can be tidied up as well. This little section here wants to come back. Okay, so I've been working my way through it. We did this lower section, this mid section here, just leaving me with this top section to do now. So as I said before, it's quite drastic pruning on something like this, and for those of you that aren't so familiar with Satsuki azaleas, it will seem even more drastic. But when you get this old woody growth to them, this is the prescribed remedy to get growth, younger, more vigorous, more compact growth back into them, to give them a real good, quite severe haircut like this. We're gonna fertilise this with Naruko fertiliser. We're gonna put it in a greenhouse for a few weeks, and I think depending on the warm weather that we might or might not have in the UK, I think between 4 to 8 weeks from now, we should be looking at quite a different tree with some new growth on it. So we're doing this now before I'm away for a few days, so that it can get a sort of, while I'm away, it gets a bit of a head start on doing what it's going to do, so that we can start getting some buds and growth on it, and then we can show you that as a follow-up video in a few weeks' time. So it should be an interesting series of work on something like this. Like I said, we've got a lot of trees here on the nursery, and this is one that I really wanted to do this work to last year, and then I got super busy with something and got sidetracked, and before you know it, it was July and August, and then we've not got enough of the growing season to do this sort of work in the UK. So our growing season here tapers off quite quickly, so you need to get this sort of work done early enough so that you can get some growth from it. So here, I'm going to take that section there off, and here, this is a bit growing upwards. This is a better apex to grow something off here, so that whole lump there is going to come away. In fact, this section here is a bit heavy, but we might address some of that once it starts budding. So this one here is a bit heavy, but we'll see what happens. We'll leave that on and see where it actually breaks from, where it actually buds from, before we make any decision with that. Just take away some of this debris that sort of have trickled down. So if you're buying this tree off me and you said, I'd like that tree, Corin, but I can't fit it in my car, it'd fit in your car now, wouldn't it? We could just have trimmed it for you before you took it home. It's considerably more manageable now. Some downward growing stuff wants to come off. A little leaf there, look, just hanging on. Tidy this up. This section in here, look, this is a bit weird. Obviously there's a branch here, and this is just like a little sort of knobble there with some branches coming out of it. So let's get in there and just take that back, tidy that section up. There's a little earwig running for cover, I'm not surprised. So with that sort of done, this section here just a bit too thick, so that knuckle there can come off. The rest of this I'm not so worried about. We can get in here, just tidy this trunk up a little bit more. See, that might be a job for Josh. Josh is a cameraman, so he's now got a list of jobs to do on this tree, haven't you, Josh? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the UK, we grow these in Kanuma, Japanese soil. So this will be potted into Kanuma, go into the greenhouse, and it'll be exciting to see how it progresses in coming weeks. You know, heavy trunk, all this base was all covered up with growth before we started, so it's good to get that sort of all trimmed back and exposed. this wound sealant that's been put in the field has been daubed on quite abundantly, so we should be able to, just like silicone they've used, we should be able to take that off here and either redress it with something more appropriate or more subtle, a bit less of it. So that's worth a little bit of time in doing that as well, so we can show off the trunk a little bit more. That's healed pretty well, but quite a magnificent trunk. Good display on this tree. You can now see the structure that was hiding within, and then we'll see how it progresses, and we look forward to showing you its progression in another video, hopefully in a few weeks time. And I hope you've enjoyed that little demo on drastic pruning with Satsuki Azalea. And now I should get my things prepared, ready for my trip over to the USA, and I shall see you when I get back. Take care.